Okay. Spray transferred. From a wall to him. Okay. No way. So hello gamers and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be doing the ultimate attachment guide in Phantom Forces. This will be basically everything you need to know about choosing each individual attachment. Make sure to check down below if you're subscribed, and if you're new, please subscribe. It actually helps quite a bit. And also let's go for 1,000 likes on this video. I need to outline a couple of other things. Firstly, this is not going to be a guide on every single attachment in the entire game. That would be probably like at least an hour-long video. I did one on every barrel attachment and it was a 30-minute long video. So if you want to see that, go check that out. It's a very, very good video. One of my favorite videos that I made pretty recently. So yeah, go check that out if you have not. But this will explain what you need to know to actually make really, really good setups on your guns, what ammo conversions do, how to check what an attachment is doing to your gun. But yeah, let's just start it off with the sights. Sights are pretty interesting. Basically, if you want to check what a sight will really do to your gun, first off, you can look at it like this if you don't have the sight unlocked and see what the reticle is kind of going to be like. And also scroll down to about midway through the advanced stats, which you can press here, and you can see the sight magnification. That's the other important factor. This has a 2.2, the Coyote is a 2.0, the mini sight is a 1.5, the Delta is a 1.5, the Z point is a 1.75. So basically, that's how much you're going to zoom in when you aim down sights. So 2.2, I'm zooming in quite a bit. 1.5, 1.2, I'm not going to be zooming in as much as a 2.2. So basically, what you're going to want is if you have a longer range gun, whether that be a DMR, a low recoil auto, anything you want to be using for longer ranges and has pretty low recoil overall, use a higher zoom optic. And if you want a very CQC gun, you could run a Delta, a reflex, or maybe a Kosaku sight, or alternatively you could run an alt-aim. And an alt-aim has a 1.0 magnification, and you won't aim down sights, you'll aim down the side of your gun. You'll still get aiming accuracy, but it's a good way to actually get like lower visible recoil. As you can see, it doesn't really zoom in at all. Sights are extremely subjective, but if you want to see my top picks for sights, I do have a video on that. Also, what is going on with this gun? Why is the magazine sideways? Now next up we have barrels, and there's like 4 categories for barrels. Recoil reduction, which is stuff like the compensator and muzzle brake. Suppressors, which is the suppressors. Fire rate changing ones like the muzzle booster and the oil filter. And you have long and short barrels. If it's an assault rifle, use a long barrel on it if it has it, unless you don't really like the recoil. And if you don't like the recoil, then you can run a compensator or a muzzle brake. Usually a compensator, but if you really don't like your vertical recoil, run a muzzle brake. And if you have overall recoil that you just want reduction for, use the T-brake attachment. And if you want your recoil to kind of be lower but also go down, use Halbic, but don't really use that. Loudiner will also lower your recoil but will lower your velocity and will make muzzle flash a lot larger, and it's just really not that great. Use T-brake, use a muzzle brake, compensator, and muzzle booster if your gun has extremely low recoil. Suppressors will lower recoil a lot in some cases. The best one is the ARS suppressor, but that will reduce your range. So if you don't want to reduce your range and you have a very low recoil gun, use the default suppressor. And if you have a 45 or 9mm gun and you want a suppressor, use the Osprey suppressor, which is on those guns. The default suppressor doesn't really affect recoil too much. It really just reduces rotational recoil, not by very much, so it's not really that great, but it's very good if your gun already has no recoil and you just want a suppressor, because it doesn't really have any downside either. However, the downside for it is really that you don't get as much recoil reduction as you would from, you know, a different attachment. Or alternatively, you could use the muzzle booster attachment if you have a very low recoil gun. However, there's a pretty big downside to that, which is that you have increased recoil. So a gun that might be extremely accurate might not become as accurate as you would expect, you know? Next up, we have underbarrel, which is really going to be 2 categories, which is the lasers and the grip attachments. And really, grips is what you want to use unless you really don't want to have a bit of a slower aiming speed. Vertical grip is better vertical recoil and better hip fire. Angled is better overall recoil with a little bit worse hip fire. Same with potato grip. Skeleton grip is faster aiming speed, but you have worse recoil. Holding grip is basically angled grip, but better. It reduces camera recoil by a lot. Stubby grip will give you slightly better hip fire and very good overall recoil reduction. Pistol grip will give you reduced rotational recoil, and it's not really that great on like most guns. Romanian grip will give you some better hip fire and will give you really, really good accuracy on a slower fire rate gun. Sideways grip will make your recoil lower, but it will cant to the left, I think. But if you press T with it, you'll get some free alt-aim, which is nice. Air CQR is really, really bad for handling. However, you do get basically reduced recoil in every single category, and you get a little bit of red laser benefits as well. Chainsaw grip is extremely good for hip fire, but really not that great for anything else. Unless you love hip firing, I do not recommend this one. Overall, I'd say stubby and folding. The A94 is actually really, really good with the Romanian grip, so that's why I'm running this one. And alternatively, you could use a laser because every grip in the game except the sideways grip and the skeleton grip will reduce your handling a little bit. And by that, I mean you aim a little bit slower, which is really not that big of a deal. But if you really don't want that downside, I guess you could not run a grip. Skeleton grip will make it better, which is cool and all, but it will make your recoil worse, which is really not that great on most guns, outside of like maybe some semi-auto guns. And sideways grip does not have an effect, but it will make your recoil better. So if you really want a grip but not worse handling, then do use the sideways grip. And if you don't want any upsides or downsides on the gun, just use a laser. Lasers have basically no downside at all. They do not affect handling, anything like that. Sometimes they'll reduce recoil by a little bit. It will make your hip fire a little bit better, and they kind of just help with aiming overall, because if you're hip firing, you can know like the center of where the bullets are going to land, because that's where the laser is. Overall, not the best attachments in the game, but like they're basically a free attachment if you don't really have anything else to run. However, do not use them really that much on the underbarrel attachment because you don't really need to do that. That was a great nade, by the way. Because here's the thing, you also have the other attachments, which I will get into in a second, because not every gun in the game would benefit from just running an other laser attachment. You could also run something else in this category. You have 4 categories, I guess, which is basically lasers, cantids, which don't really matter, stock attachments, and the ballistics tracker. Ballistics tracker is trash, do not use it. Lasers are really nice because they give you overall benefits. Cantid sights will add a cantid, which basically if you have a scope and you press T, you'll actually go to your other sight, which means if you can't deal with an ACOG or something on your gun in close range, maybe just don't use an ACOG, but you could also use your cantid sight, which is, I guess, pretty cool. Cantids do look nice. I really like them, but like, I don't really use them at all. It will affect how your recoil kind of works as well. It's just strange. I don't know. And we have stocks, which is in most cases a full stock, a retracted, and a remove stock. Full stock gives you worse handling, worse walk speed, but better recoil. And remove stock is the opposite. You get worse recoil, however, you get a lot better handling and walk speed. So if you have a very low recoil gun, just use the remove stock. It's very, very good for that. But if you have a high recoil gun, do not use a remove stock. It'll make it even worse. And it really does have a pretty big effect on your recoil, as you can see from this gun. Overall, the sweat setup is probably reflex, ARS suppressor, or compensator, stubby grip, tri-laser, or green laser, or a full stock, or remove stock. Then we have ammo attachments, which are pretty weird. I'll try to talk about the main ones overall. Armor piercing, hollow point, tracerless, and silent are the main ammo attachments that are basically on everything, except silent, which is on only 7.62x51 guns. It's very weird. Armor piercing basically will give you worse max damage range, but better penetration. So basically, if you want to be able to shoot through more walls, then run armor piercing, but that range downgrade is a pretty big deal on a lot of guns. Not the Scar L. Scar L is probably the best gun in the entire game to run armor piercing on, but other than that, you don't really want to use AP too often because of the downgrade to your ranges, which could affect how many shots it's required to get a kill. And the upside is not as effective as you'd expect, because a lot of the time you can still penetrate the wall. And also, do not use AP on basically any PDW. AP will increase your pen by 50%, which sounds really, really good. Except when you think about it, if you have really bad pen to begin with, in this case 0.5, then you add AP 0.75, not much more, you know, versus an AR where you get 0.5 extra studs, which is pretty good, or even a DMR where you get like 1.65 more pen. That's really, really good. Then you have hollow point, and hollow point sounds very, very good. You get better damage, right? However, it has a massive list of downsides: worse headshot damage, worse damage over range, worse penetration, worse ranges. You probably shouldn't ever run hollow point unless there's like a huge advantage to using it. In this case, there's literally none. You get awful headshot damage and awful ranges. 9x19 will give you a 3-shot and a 5-shot range, but 100 more RPM, better ranges, better headshot damage. Then you have tracerless, which sounds really cool, right? It doesn't change damage, it doesn't change your RPM, it doesn't change your velocity or anything. It just makes your tracers for your bullets invisible. Well, no, it doesn't. You can still see them. It's harder to see them, but like, who cares? Nobody cares about tracers. So basically, you get like no upside or downside, right? Well, not really. You get worse hipfire, you get worse recoil recovery speed. Try to run AP or none when it comes to those overall ammo types. Other than that, you have a bunch of conversions, and I can't really go over all of those. All you really need to know when you see those is damage, ranges, fire rate, magazine capacity. Check all of those, see what the gun does and what it does well, and then you can weigh the pros and cons for yourself. Conversions are overall not going to be a direct upgrade to really any gun. Also, what? Oh, what? Oh, okay, I do have a stock on this. I was like, I didn't put remove stock on it, but it doesn't have a stock. That's because it straight up just didn't render in for a second. I was like, whoa, I don't remember having this attachment. Got him. Dude, ECR. Setup's gonna be basically whatever you want, you know? This setup, for example, is the Mars sight, the ARS suppressor, stubby grip, the green laser, and no ammo type. So even though the setup looks extremely dorky and weird, it is actually a very, very good setup. It reduces recoil by quite a bit. It gives you suppressor. It does a ton of very helpful stuff. So basically, setups can be kind of whatever you want from them. You don't have to run a suppressor on a gun. You don't have to run any particular site, but like there are better ones in my opinion. Go check out my site ranking video though. So focus on overall recoil reduction first. Second, handling. That is also very important, and you should be good. Like that's really all you need is pretty good handling and pretty good recoil control, a balance of those two, and you're kind of good, you know? Just use recoil reduction attachments. Range increasing stuff is cool and all, but if you can't walk fast and you can't hit stuff, what is the point of ranges, you know? So yeah, this is by no means a comprehensive guide. That would be like a 2-hour, 3-hour video, and I can't really do that right now. I upload every day. I can't really make a 2-hour video. Okay, spray transferred from a wall to him. Okay. No way. This setup here is pretty interesting as well. I have no barrel attachment. Sniper rifles don't really need a barrel attachment unless you have a long barrel on it, then use it. It's called the heavy barrel. But basically, I have the default scope because it's a sniper rifle. And then I have a green laser to get that better hip fire, and not only better hip fire, but also to be able to land my shots better. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. That is my ultimate attachment guide. Comment down below your favorite conversion, but I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Have a nice day.